This is Module 12, the case study for the Lightville Community School District by Tim Walker for EDL 852. So first off in this section we'll establish the facts. So we'll cover the community information, timeline of events, who is involved, and what is currently being done. So community information, we have the Lightville School District and Lightville Community. It's a smaller rural community near a larger city, about 10 to 20 minutes outside of a larger city. 60% of the residents live on farms. Their current school population is 1,200 students with 2% growth year over year is what's projected, which means in 10 years they will have gained one student. So it's not terribly growing at a terribly fast rate, but it has experienced growth and almost doubled in the last 10 years. The elementary school was built 22 years ago, and the secondary school, which is 7 through 12, was built 11 years ago. Timeline of events. Current buildings are running out of room. The school district engaged with a planner to identify solutions, and the three solutions were build additions to the existing building for K through 6 and 7 through 12, build addition to the 7 through 12 and move grade 6 out of the primary building, or build a new middle school for grade 6 through 8. It was recommended by them to build a new building for 6 through 8 from the planner. A referendum was passed after 4 months of open debate and public statements to build the new middle school. It passed 4-1 in the school board. Kind of timeline continued is that the superintendent recommends to hire a principal for the middle school 12 months out from its starting date. So Susan Potter was hired on August 1st. She established a committee including 4 teachers and 4 parents to be the vision and planning committee, and conflict came about when trying to establish a vision statement for the new building. Who is involved? So you have Susan Potter. She's the principal. She's from a larger suburban school district, former assistant principal in a middle school, seen as a great leader. Helen Burke is an English teacher from who's going to work in the new middle school. Her brother is a board member who voted for the new building. She is the head of the committee. There's Joe Rawlings, the superintendent. Community members. So the community members fell into kind of three different factions. Those are the ones who supported to build the new building. They were in favor of it. Most of them were all new to the community and who's brought in a majority of the children as well to account for the growth in the last few years. There were those people who opposed building the new building. They didn't want to incur any additional debt for the next 10 years after building the new high school 11 years ago. Then there were the people who supported additions to the current buildings for like 6th grade and also in the high school as well. Then there's also the committee members. These are the people who they want to help with the staffing, they want to help plan programs, and they want to help in the planning of the overall building. What is currently being done? The committee operation. When Susan had created the committee, Susan had expressed she would not like to be the head of the committee. Established the committee would operate democratically, and consensus would be the method for making decisions. She expressed that the vision statement would reflect the collective values, and that stakeholders given an opportunity to make suggestions and have input. Any legal and ethical considerations. So we'll cover some legal issues, ethical issues, both internally and externally, and then if there were any breaches of contract. So legal issues. Overall, there's no real legal issues to consider as no one is breaking the law. However, ethical issues. So there's internal and external. Ethical issues. So internally, Susan's in a dilemma of standing her ground or not in the committee. So she has to either hold to her word of being democratic, using consensus, and following through with what she had said, or she doesn't. Also internally, the committee, there could be animosity created between Susan and the committee, depending on where she stands in this regard. Externally, Joe Rawlings could be seen as selecting the wrong person. Depending on how this committee functions and how the outcomes are, that is definitely an ethical consideration for Joe and the people who selected the new principal. And also the community members could be viewed as holding up the process. Breaches of contract. Overall, there's no real breaches of contract in the legal aspect. However, Susan and the committee are running the risk of breaching social contracts. They were selected to make progress and plan the new school. If they are unable to come to a conclusion, they wouldn't be in breach of contract of just setting out to accomplish their own goals, as well as benefit the community as a large. So missing pieces. I think some missing pieces that would help is knowing if there is a vision statement for the school district. This would help to kind of couch or support the creation of a vision statement for the middle school, and so what that looks like. What norms were in place by Joe Rawlings, so as far as like how does he run meetings, what are the norms that are agreed to when the school district is meeting as well, which would also help in just knowing what Susan came in with the impression. And then other resources that are available to the community as far as technology or financial resources that would be available to the committee. So section 4, prioritize. So things that are important. The committee is democratic, so Susan set that up from the get-go, and everybody agreed to that. Consensus is how decisions are to be made, so everybody agreed to that. Susan also stated that the vision statement will reflect the collective thoughts of the committee, and she also stated that stakeholders will have input in this. So the problem is that Susan is running into is that the committee is democratic, and they came to a consensus, and they put her in charge, and now she's in charge of doing the vision statement all on her own because that's what the committee decided. Solutions. So in this section, we'll suggest possible solutions, evaluate the solutions, and then submit the final plan to solve the problem. So one thing she could do is she could restart the committee altogether with brand new members. Pros would be to re-engage with some new norms. The membership may improve or may become more diverse. She would also flex that muscle of authority, as well as saying, you know, if this isn't going to work, then I have the ability to restart the committee. Cons would be losing face with staff and community, upset the current members, and she may not even find anybody who's willing to re-engage in the committee. 2, she just does it all on her own. The committee has decided that that's what is already going to happen. So it's seen as having the wherewithal to withstand adversity, would be a pro. It's done quickly. The plans for the committee work out, and they're able just to continue on. Cons would be that it doesn't reflect the collective thoughts. There's no information gathered from stakeholders, and if anything fails, Susan is blamed. I think 3, doing it on her own but engage stakeholders and the committee. Pros would be this accomplishes both goals. Susan is seen as a compromiser. The cons would be that it would take long to do it on her own. I think overall this should be the solution, and the reason for that is because then Susan can engage the community members and the committee members and community members in through surveys and gathering data to see what themes arise in creating a vision for the overall middle school. So I think she should go about it on her own, but do it in a way that would be conducive to the creation of the vision statement as far as engaging other people in the process, coming up with various choices for the committee to choose from, and then moving from there. But this would help to expedite the process of creating the vision statement since there's not as many people trying to wordsmith and create a vision. And this is my closing statements for the correlation, relevance, and reflection.